Welcome back to the Millennial Classics, y'all. This is another review. We are moving forward in the three body problem. If you haven't, it's going to be a link in the description box below for part one, and we are going to do part two today. Nate, how you doing?
Not too bad.
Not too
Not
bad.
too bad, dog. How
I'm
you doing?
happy. I'm doing pretty good, and I'm happy it hasn't been that bad for you because it's been 40 goddamn years in the three body problem.
It's been a long time. It's been a long
Yes.
time, and they also have to get into the three body problem, and then they have. This is when we start to see inside of it what's actually going on.
Shit's
So
getting like this is when the sci-fi really starts to be sci-fi. And that's why I'm excited to get into this part of the book. Right off the bat, we jump 40 years later. And if you like read the intro, or not the intro, like the list of names, I didn't know what is considered present day, but this is actually technically present day. So chapter
this is
four,
press attack.
yeah, this is present day. So chapter four, first chapter in part two, the frontiers of science. We jump to 40 years later, right? So we leave Ye Wenji. We forget about her. There's no word about her,
Which is kind
nothing.
of it's kind of upsetting because I kind
Right?
of was falling in love with this girl.
I know. I was
You
like,
know,
where's my lady? Right? Where's my lady? But we are introduced to Wang Miao, and he's a nanomaterials researcher. He deals with nanotechnology. And right in the beginning of this chapter, there's these two officers that come barging through his office
all right.
door or his apartment door or whatever. And they're like, "We need you. You need to come with us to this secret high, like, commander."
He's like, don't smoke in my place. Don't
Exactly.
smoke.
He's like, first of all,
Get
take your
out.
shoes off and don't smoke in my fucking house.
And
Um,
the cop, is just an asshole.
I
You
love the
know,
cop. I love the cop.
I did not like him. I
You
did not
didn't
like him
like
at
him?
this point. No, I hate him. So it's just being a dick. He's like blowing smoke in his face and
Yeah.
like,
He's
yeah.
he's wild. He's wild. He does come off pretty heavy. But the cop's name is Shi Xiang. And they take him to this secret
Young.
meeting that they're having, and the meeting is held by General Chang, and all we know that they're part of the PLA, and these are PLA officers. That's just the title of who what
People's
the
Liberation Army.
there you go. That's why we have you here, Nate. And then they go to have this meeting, and in this meeting, it's this investigation on this group of scientists. They're called the Frontiers of Science, and
Right.
they're basically asking our new protagonist, Wang Miao, who we know nothing about, to,
Nothing.
yeah, literally nothing outside of his job. And they were like, all right, so you're a scientist, you deal with these materials,
Nanotech.
nanotech materials, and we need you to infiltrate the frontiers of science and tell us
Right.
what the hell is going on.
Because they have no idea because they're killing themselves.
Exactly.
The physicists of the modern day, like the leaders, are all committing suicide. And it's
Uh,
very strange. He doesn't know why. He's not part of it. He's never really been. I don't know if he was invited before.
it seems like there's just like an open letter invitation because they don't mention the fact that he was invited previously or if he gets a special invitation, but it's just like you're doing this or you're not doing
You're
this.
doing this. You're
Yeah,
doing this now. But he's also a little scared because it's like, yo, everyone's killed themselves.
exactly. And the thing
You
is,
know?
it's right from the get that he's just like, first of all, he's like, no, I'm too busy.
Yeah, he's like,
Like,
I'm not doing this.
I'm
I'm
not
not
doing
doing.
this. I got some shit to do. I'm like on the brink of figuring
Yeah,
some
and they're
nano
not telling him anything. They're not telling
nothing.
him what's going on, why they're preparing. There's like whispers, I think, of a war and shit, but no one's saying anything. And
Yeah.
so he's just sitting in the room with all these people who know a whole lot more than he does. And he's like, why the fuck? You're all I'm basically getting. These people are committing suicide, and you're asking me to join them. He's like, I don't really want to do that.
Yes. And the way that they explain about all these people killing, they give him a letter, and a list of all the scientists that have killed themselves. And in this list, he notices one of the names, and one of the
And this
names,
is what,
go
yeah.
ahead,
Well, what's the name? I don't even know the name.
Yang Dong. Yang
Yang Dong. And
Dong.
this is important because when
Yes.
he was first a nanotech, when we first described him in the nanotech basically building where they're doing these experiments, he was essentially the director.
Mm-hmm.
And he walks in, and one day he sees this woman. He sees this woman, and she's talking with a couple of people. She's near the material, and he's kind of far away, and he doesn't even speak to her. He doesn't even speak to her. He just passes by. And trust me, I've had this. You walk by and you're just like, oh my God. And he just thinks this girl's the most beautiful thing in the world, except he has a wife
Exactly.
at the
Well,
time.
no, wait. At the time of him seeing her,
I
does he
think he
have a
did.
wife? Oh,
Yeah.
well, this sneaky son of a bitch.
And then but he envisions her like every single photo I've ever seen is now complete because
It's
I see it with her,
right. It's
you know?
insanity. It's insanity. It's insanity. It's
I mean, I
love at
feel
first
that.
run.
I
It's
do love love. I do love love.
the Cupid struck. Cupid struck right. So they gave him this list, and he notices the list. And I guess Yang Dong's boyfriend is also in the meeting for some strange reason, or was part of the group, or some. He's related some way somehow. We end up going to his house next chapter. But before we go to the next chapter, we have to mention what it says in her death note, in her like
Right.
suicide note. In that suicide note, she says, and I quote, all the evidence points to a single conclusion. Physics has never existed and will never exist. I know what I'm doing is irresponsible, but I have no choice. And when you're reading this, like I am,
Like, what's
we
going
are,
on?
yeah, I'm like way past this point. But when you were reading this, I was like, what the hell is she talking about? How
Right.
does
It's
any
kind
of
of
this? Yeah,
a little mysterious. It's a little scary. It's like she leaves like, well, okay, obviously they lead you to believe like something's happened. I
of
can't
course.
tell you, but this is the right decision, or it's like, okay, what's going on? And then she's the reason because he saw her name. She's the reason that he decides to join,
Yep.
I
Yep.
believe. And
Uh,
so, yeah,
and so he basically kind of joins, and like I just wanted to add this last quote because Dashi is like the nickname for the cop, but it right before he leaves, his first time getting up and leaving, like I'm not doing this, he says in a smirking way, if we send him, he'd be a meat dumpling thrown to the dogs. I
right.
just love this dude. I love this dude.
They're basically saying you're
Pussy.
gonna kill yourself. You're a pussy.
Yeah.
You're gonna kill yourself because you're a pussy. You
Yeah.
can't do shit.
You can't do
And he's
shit.
like, oh, okay.
So he
You know,
joins, and then we move on to like he basically leaves. He gets into the cab, and the cab driver's like, "No, I wasn't the one who drove you here. I just came from the boyfriend of Yang Dong's house, and the boyfriend's name is Ding Yi." Ding Yi. So Wong is like, let me try to figure out what's going on here. Let me see if I could get some more information. I
right.
know that
Instead of going home, right. Instead of going home, he switches to go to Dingy's house.
yeah, he goes to Ding
Right.
Yi's house. He gets to the place, and this dude is like fucked up, which I don't blame. His
I
partner
would
just
be.
committed, yeah, his partner
Yeah.
that he just committed suicide, and he's like shit faced. And
Yeah. He's
Wang
on
is
the
like,
couch, just
yeah,
fucking losing his marbles. He's just out. He's out to lunch, drunk as hell on the couch, and he walks in, and he's like, "Dude, what's going on? What's going on?" Well, they start getting into it, and then eventually, Ding tries to explain to him why she killed himself. And he's like, "You don't have the other half of the letter. Like, let me explain what happened."
and the
But
way
he's not that clear cut. He's not that clear cut. He just
he's
starts
not.
diving in.
Don't say
Come
he's
come
not
over
clear.
here and play pool. Come over here and
Yeah,
play pool.
you
It's
saying
like,
he's not clear
why the
cut. He
fuck am I
doesn't
gonna play pool?
explain anything, bro. I was
Nothing.
so confused by the end of this, but
He's like, come play pool. Come play pool. And he's like, dude, I don't want to fucking like you're drunk as hell. What? Just come play pool. Just come play pool. And he won't let our main character respond. And
yeah.
so he's like, okay, I'll play
All
pool.
right. Let's play. Let's play. And they don't actually play pool. It's literally one shot that they take. And then he's like, all right, help me move the table. All right. He takes the same shot. All right, help me move the table. He does this 5 different times. And then at the end of it, he's just Wong, the nanotechnologist. He's just like, what was the goddamn point of all of that? He's like,
Right.
first of all, the ball, when you hit the ball, it went into the same, like, the way physics works in our pocket of the universe or whatever the hell. You hit it, the same thing happened every time. It doesn't matter where we were in the building. But imagine a situation where once you hit the ball, the first time it went into the pocket, the second time it broke through the window, the third time
Right.
he goes on and says, what if when you hit it with the same amount of force in the same way, something different happened just based on where you moved the pool table? And I was a little confused by this. Does that mean that physics doesn't exist, or does that mean that physics only exists the way you know it in the pocket of the universe that you are currently in?
I think what it means by physics doesn't exist is it's immeasurable. Like it's something that we can't comprehend. So the fact that you're getting a different output with the same action doesn't make any sense because technically where the pool is located, it's equal to the plane it's at.
Yeah.
Like its location is similar to the location before, even though it's differently spatially located. The planes are similar, and so when he has a different reaction, it's like, dude, it doesn't make sense. There's no predictability. There's no way to measure anything. It's not. You can't do anything. This is just a waste.
Yeah.
And it completely blows out everything.
Exactly. And that's basically the visit, right? That's basically the visit. And then our guy goes home. Wong Meow. Then it's chapter 6. So we're really moving today. And this chapter, I really need some help, Nate. I really do need.
That's what I'm
here
for.
Yes. So chapter 6, the shooter and the farmer. So now Wong is back. This is like the next day, or it's that afternoon, whatever it is. He gets home and he's, like Nate said earlier, he's a photographer. That's his side hustle. You see me doing this. I love anyone who has a side hustle. He's going out, he's taking pictures, but he can't get that thought out of his mind. Is the world really the world, or is physics really this just mash shit situation? He can't control himself. He's taking all of these pictures. He gets
and he
back
did get and he did get invited to, I believe, in the past to an exhibit, an expose of
for his pictures, for his.
So he dabbles for real.
Yeah, his shit's good. His shit is at least decent. It's at least decent. And then so he gets home, and I want to talk. Do you want to talk about the shooter and the farmer now, or do you want to talk about it after we talk about the numbers? The countdown.
Up to you. I think let's go. Let's just keep going and we'll explain it.
Okay. So he gets home. He takes a nap. He wakes up. He starts to do the Polaroid old school way of getting these pictures like up in his like black room or red room or whatever they call those photography rooms where you develop the pictures. And in every single picture he took, there's a countdown, and it's counting down from 1,200 hours.
Yeah,
right?
It's some large number, 1,187, and then 1,187 colon a 2-digit number, colon another 2-digit number. And as he's looking at these photos in order that he took them, the numbers descend. So it goes from this 4-digit number 1187 colon 27 24, then 23, then 22, then 21, based off the times that he took the photos.
And the crazy thing is, it's not just like at the bottom of the picture, like this is just like a fucked up piece of film. No, it's literally in the actual picture. And it doesn't matter if it's a picture in the dark, in the light, the actual numbers change color. And in one of the pictures where he took a picture of a tree, the number was up against the tree. So the dude is like, what?
Different colors too. It changes colors according to the background, which he's just like nothing. And this all plays out because, of course, he just joined the frontier of science. Like, he's now in a group of people killing themselves. He just saw Meow, and now physics doesn't exist. And we also have this concept of the shooter and the farmer, right?
Yes.
Which is basically the idea that there's a person like signs. Right. Maybe you can explain this better. Like a person who's tending to their farm.
You go.
So
the shooter and the farmer is basically they say in the text that the frontiers of science use an analogy as the shooter and the farmer when describing the hypothesis of how the universe works. And the shooter hypothesis is basically like, pretend that we are living on a 2-dimensional plane. And this 3-dimensional being, humongous, shoots into a target practice piece of paper.
Right. And that's the thing. It's this is it. So it's like I related to the signs, the guy in the thing. Like, as we know, the signs of the movie, the guy goes into his farm and he sees these cornfields and it's like this. Now he draws meaning out of this. Here's an alien ship and there's this and there's that. You can specifically tell by the order of the cornfields. And this is saying that for the farmer, which is who he is, he sees this message. He decodes it, and this is what it is. But on the flip side, the shooter might have just been a fucking drunk dude.
Yeah.
And the shooter in this case refers to like this 3D person who's in another planet or something, shooting towards sending messages.
Exactly.
This guy might just be fucking shooting a shotgun, and just shooting everywhere. He might be drunk. He might not give a shit. And so the farmer reads message into it when it might not even have a message.
But if that is your universe, if all you know if there's like a fucking hole every 10 centimeters on this plane that the drunk person is shooting, of course you're going to take meaning out of it. It's impossible not to. And then the second part of that hypothesis is the farmer and the turkeys. And the farmer, like, basically the turkeys are the human beings or the scientists. And he's like, every day at 11 o'clock, we get food. Every day at 11 o'clock, we get food. He's taking notes. He's being a diligent turkey scientist. And then Thanksgiving comes and he announces to all the turkeys, I have like figured out the universe, right? At 11 o'clock every morning, we get food. And then he doesn't get food because it's fucking Thanksgiving.
Right.
And everyone dies. I just don't understand the difference between those two analogies. They just seem so unrelated. Why is it the shooter and the farmer? Like, I can understand if they were described separately, but it there's no connection for me. I don't understand how those two things connect.
Yeah, and I might be wrong here because it has been a little bit since I was doing this chapter, reading this chapter. But basically, the farmer is now the turkey, right? And the shooter is the guy who's feeding the turkey. And the turkey, who's the farmer, now takes into meaning, hey, we're going to get fed every day at this time. But the shooter, who's the adult and he's feeding, he doesn't really give a fuck. Yeah, he has a schedule that he sticks to, but he doesn't have to stick to it. Yeah. Right. So if you're a turkey and you get fed every day at 11 a.m., every day for your whole life, if suddenly one day you're not fed at 11 a.m., physics is dead. You know, like, fuck.
Okay.
There's no reality. There's no anything. I don't know what's going on. I'm going to flap around and fucking go crazy. And then, there's food at 2 p.m., you know, and we're going to eat that too, you know?
Oh, I see.
That's essentially what it is.
Both of those things are describing situations in which we believe science is dead.
It's believing that
physics.
You won't be like the turkeys will draw a meaning from that, or an unbelievable meaning, when there really is
the reality
no
is
the reality is the guy missed an hour or something.
Exactly. Or it's Thanksgiving and all of you guys are dying.
Right, and we're gonna murder you all. So
no, yeah, 100% right. And I think I was getting close, but I was just like, these two things, these are just really bad analogies. These scientists suck. But this is what Wong is thinking the entire time he's doing his photography thing. The numbers keep counting down. And then his family comes home, his wife and his son, and he's freaking out. He's like, all right, he gives the camera to his wife and he's like, take some pictures. He gives another camera to his son, take some pictures. He does those develops and there's no numbers on those pictures.
I also think it's important because he is fucking freaking out. Like, could you imagine you just go home, like, you're already thinking existentially, and you take out a couple of photos and all of a sudden there's these numbers and like, they're not related to the camera. They're not related to anything. And you keep seeing them. And you're like, okay, what's going on? I go take more photos and it's happening. Okay, what's going on? And then your wife and son come home and they just got groceries or whatever. And they're like, hey, how you doing? He's like, here, could you take this photo? Could you take this photo? Here, you take this photo. And his wife is like,
what's going on?
As time passes, she's like, she begins to really freak out because he gives them photos, his son and his wife, he gives them a camera. They take photos. No numbers appear.
Yeah.
But every time that he touches the camera,
the numbers appear. Yep.
Regardless of the camera.
And a key thing about the numbers appearing, it's not just numbers appearing. The numbers appearing in the exact descending order, but like, let's say he's developing the pictures. The last picture he took was an hour previously, and then he takes a picture an hour after. There's going to be a 2-hour gap between those two numbers, but it's going to be exact every single time, and the countdown just continues. Yeah. Right. So he's like freaking out so much that he gets up out of his dinner table and he's like, I gotta go ask this lady who's part of the frontiers of science. And this is when we meet the first person part of the frontiers of science. Right. He drives over to her house. Her name is Dr. Shen Yufei. Yufei. He gets there. He's like, I need to talk to Dr. Shen Yufei. And his husband, this like
her husband is just
he's
super
like
nerd.
Super nerd.
Well, actually, we don't even know he's nerdy because he doesn't leave his room.
He doesn't.
So the writer goes on to believe that we don't actually know what he's doing in there.
The only thing we do know that he is doing in there is tinkering away at $1 million, a million yen computer, which Wang is like, why does he have such an expensive computer? That's insane. But anyways, he doesn't give a shit about that computer. He just notices it, goes into the room where Dr. Shen is, and sees her playing a game. He looks at the computer and he
He
sees
sees.
the three. It's www.3body.net. You know, I googled that. I tried to.
I think I did too.
And it's this
They
website, and it's dope. It's actually pretty dope. Like the
but
whoever's doing the PR for this book is amazing because it's all in Chinese, first of all. But the website is dope. It's actually dope. Look it up if you guys haven't. Just www.3body.com. But he sees
.net or .com.
.net. I'm sorry, .net. But Dr. Shen is playing the game. She stops. She gets up. He goes down his whole diatribe. What happened? The numbers he's seeing. What the fuck is going on? And she's just like as deadpan as like simply answering as possible. She's just like, you need to stop doing your work.
Yeah. She's like, are you doing the nanotech? And he's like, yeah, like blah blah blah. And she's like, just try to stop.
And he's
Try
like,
to
what
stop.
He's like, well, what do you mean? Why am I going to stop doing my
Yeah.
nanotech?
Try to stop.
Try to stop. You got to stop. You got to stop. And she doesn't say anything else. That's the only response she gives, but then she walks away.
She says, just stop, try it.
Exactly.
Just stop, try it. And it's like literally, he goes like, this is it. You have to give me a reason because he's freaking out. Stop. She told him to stop the work. You have to give me a reason. And she goes, just stop, try it. Because what do you know? Tell me. I've told you all I can. I can't stop the project. It's impossible. Just stop, try it. It's like, what the fuck? Are you a robot?
Yeah,
Like,
give me something,
speak to me,
please.
She's acting like she's a queen of the universe, and I kind of believe it. I'm like, this lady knows something.
She definitely knows something. She walks him out because Wong is like, I'm not going to get anything out of this lady. As Wong's leaving, he's driving off in his cab, but before he drives off, he notices someone that comes to her house, and they don't look like they're having a friendly conversation. This man's name is Pan Han, and he arrives, and they just give a brief description that this dude is like building this environmentalist, anti-urban, like what's it called? Like not a cult.
No,
like
it's you know what it is. It's like in the middle, it's a commune. Kind of a commune.
There you go. Exactly. It's a commune that's in the middle of like this huge ass city. But he like the description in the book is saying like there's a lot of these going around, but that's like the most successful.
And it's like completely self-sustainable.
Exactly.
And there's something else weird going on with it. But yeah, it's like he's building one in China. It's been really successful, and like random people just join it for here and then just to experience it because it does have these weird characteristics, which I forget to see right now because we should know. But
yeah, it has like really cool characteristics. Like they use all of the trash that the city uses, and they're like still sustainable.
That's like their food or something. Like they convert it to food or some shit.
Just real quick, Nate, like I'd like to think that I want to be good to the environment, but I don't know if I would go to those extent.
Listen, I've been in some strange places.
Like that's what I was about to ask, because you've done some real shit in your life. Like you think I feel like you could handle a commune pretty well.
Dude, no.
Wait, no, you don't think
dude,
so?
No, I'm like the crazy Adam. You drop me in and and I've been in a couple of situations where it's kind of like they're called Earth homes. Earth ships. They're called Earth ships. So an Earth ship is basically like a not really a plot of land. And listen, if there's an Earth shipper listening, they'll do better justice than me. But an Earth ship is basically like a building, a set of buildings, particularly a building that's completely self-sustainable, right? That doesn't need any external intervention. It produces its own water, it has its own food, it takes sun, uses that as energy, and there's no like central heating. There's no like central AC. Everything is like constructed with wood and great lighting and greenhouse, whatever. And so that's an Earth ship.
Wait, that's dope.
Yeah,
like is the idea that it could like last as long as you keep up with whatever the maintenance is, it should be able to last like a fucking zombie apocalypse? Like could you like
no, it's not like indestructible. It's not like built out of metal and iron. It's built of like maybe hardwood if it looks nice, but some could be built out of fucking chicken wire. I mean, when you get into really environmental stuff, sometimes people are really off the range. And I don't want to be an asshole, but I mean, dude, I've been in some places where you fall into like there's nothing wrong. You fall into a community of like really kind of hippie living. And hippie living is not necessarily always the tile floors and nice hardwood floors. It could be sleeping on dirt. It could be sleeping on this. It could be having like a not really a real wall, and it could be like that. There could be untrimmed It's not going to look perfect in the places I've been,
But
but
that's
I'm sure
actually
there's
pretty
someone
cool
out
though.
there. There's someone out there who probably has the dopest surf ship ever, and they probably get drunk as hell every day off of some mead that they're brewing up, and I bet that's cool. The point is it's yeah, it's the self-sustaining thing, and it does bring a certain type of person, you
And
know.
this dude that when Wong is leaving the house, he's like he has like the biggest and most successful version of the three body problems books like version of an Earth ship, but there's tons and tons of them around the city, around the country.
Oh, that's a good thing to know. Just if you're listening, good thing to know that he is kind of this commune runner.
Exactly, exactly. And then before the end of this chapter, this dude is like he's still freaking the fuck out, right? Because he goes to sleep and he wakes up. He first of all he has a nightmare about the numbers, the countdown.
Yeah.
But now when he wakes up, it's not a dream. It's not only in the pictures. He's not like it's not external. It's in his fucking vision. It doesn't matter where he looks. Wong is seeing these numbers everywhere he looks. It's just in his vision. He can always see the countdown, and it just keeps ticking, keeps ticking, keeps ticking. So he ends up going to a doctor, an optometrist. The optometrist is like, "Oh, it's probably floaters. Useless. This dude's absolutely
Right.
useless. It's not."
Well, it's gonna be like, yeah, you have there's like an alien civilization inside your brain or something weird. Like,
I guess I understand, but a like 18-digit countdown. Okay, that's something else. That might be needing a psychiatrist. And he does say you might need to. He's like he does say you might need to take some time off of work. And then finally he calls Shen Yufei one more time, and he's like, "Look, lady, I need some fucking answers." And then
right.
this is when Shen Yufei finally gives him something to look forward to or something to work towards. And she's like, "In 3 days from now, um, which is I need you to find a way to see the microwave
Co-
background of the universe,
right. Cosmic microwave
a
background.
cosmic microwave background of the universe." And then she gives him some other details about
You have to stop. You
you
have to
have to
stop.
stop, and
And
it
he
needs
doesn't want to stop. And I
of
think we
course
go. Do
not,
we break it to the next chapter? Not yet.
not yet.
But he doesn't want to stop. And then eventually he's freaking out because the countdown doesn't stop ever. And they go into work. And this is his work. Like he's invested so much in this. And he already sounds
Of
like kind of a
course,
dictator, the way they're describing how much he makes his people work.
yeah,
And
he
like
really does.
eventually gets to the point and he's like freaking out, freaking out, freaking out. And he's like, doesn't want to see this countdown because he's going crazy. So he decides to stop it. Of course, his workers are like, oh my
Thank
God, you
God.
let us breathe,
Thank
dude. Like they're
God.
working to the bone, you know? And they're like, "Oh yeah, we can stop. We can stop. We
Of
can flip it
course
around in
we
two
could
days. We can
stop.
do that." And so
Yeah.
yeah, that's well, you can go on. So after that, he goes to
This is and then
yeah,
finally,
this is
right?
the end.
Chapter 7 is when we get into the game. So the game that Shen Yufei was playing when he went to her house that first time and noticed it. This is the first time he gets into this game. He goes to his job to stop finally. And he in his break room there's a V suit. And this is basically like Ready Player One, all those the sci-fi
Yeah,
shit.
and
You
not
get
too
it.
far from now, but yeah,
Yeah, if you've seen that Provision Apple shit, I think
uh,
the future is here,
that
bro.
thing's like $2,000. Dude, the thing is, it's always a side note. All those things always suck, and they're
Well,
always
what do
so
you?
expensive.
Yeah, I mean they suck because they're the first generation of it. Like I'm
I've
excited as hell for that, bro.
oh, it's gonna be classic. Like you put your arms and they don't really move, and like fucking oh, here's this thing, and you go like this, and it fucking picks it up. Maybe one day they'll have it. Maybe it's better. But
I,
dude, I just
I
know.
I don't think it's one day, bro. I think it's like 5-10 years away.
Did you ever play the like video game one?
No, I don't know what you're talking about.
They sold it for PS4, I think PS5, whatever. It was like
Oh,
these.
oh, 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 oh. Well, I played like Wii, which is like the cheapest version of
No,
it. But
not not
no, like
Wii.
like
There's
the.
actually like a headset version and like a VR
Oh no,
game. It was
I've
like
never even
five
played that.
hundred $1,000, and I never played it because
Yeah,
I
because
don't
who
know.
would? That
It's
shit
like
would.
shit.
That's
It's like
insanity.
shit.
That's insanity.
Although
But
I mean, I would, but
if it was offered to me, I'm not gonna pay that much money
no,
to
I'm not gonna
play.
pay that much money. But I
Yeah,
definitely live inside a video game, and that'd be kind of fucking cool. Never have to eat or drink or just
I
like
mean, you do have to eat a drink. I mean, in the game you don't, but you do.
no.
You
But if
do.
I live in it, anyways,
Um. Anyways, this is Wong. I keep is it? It's Wong, right? or is
Yeah.
it Wang?
Wang.
Wang. So Wang finally gets into the game.
Wang.
He puts on the V suit, he gets into the game, and the three body problem, and the game is called Three Body. And when he gets into the game, he meets these two guys. One of them is named King Wen, and the other guy is just a follower of King Wen. So we kind of have to describe the setting. And like the first time he gets into the game is the only time that he's not directly or really close to the big ass pyramid, right? The first time he gets into the game, he has to walk with King Wen and the follower to the pyramid. And it's so beautifully done because the first time I'm reading this, I'm like, this game fucking sucks, bro, right? But moving forward, like the future times he gets into the game, he's right into the midst of all of what's happening. But they do it this way so they can explain the situation. And in the explanation, on their way to this pyramid or to the king, to the center of wherever they're going, King Wen explains this world and what this game is. So there's a couple of things, and I have 5 major points here. Number one, they're in a chaotic period in which the sun is an unpredictable, and sometimes it's really hot, sometimes it's really cold, and because the sun isn't coming in specific, like it's not stable, it's not like
it's not like the turkey, man. It's coming, it's going up 10 inches, down completely. It goes halfway up the sky, then it goes away. Then it's like comes down. You don't know when it's gonna rise, when it's gonna set, how long it's gonna be up, and how long it's gonna be down. Essentially, that's it.
Exactly. And because of that, they have to use this like case sand glass thing that King Wen is carrying, and every 8 hours he has to turn it around to make sure he knows how much time, how many days have gone by. Right. So that's number one. Number two, when the sun does rise, it's way too hot. It gets super hot, so they have to like run under shade and make sure that they don't get burnt. That's number two. Number three, everyone in this world, and this is the thing that like I had to read it a couple of times because I was like, what the fuck is going on? Everyone in this world has to they have to rehydrate and then dehydrate periodically depending on the chaoticness of the sun and the world.
So like if I'm walking around and it gets super hot and it's starting to get so hot that I can get burned, I'm just like, see you on the other side. I'm gonna lie down and dehydrate. And essentially it's like a whoopee cushion. You're just completely pushing all of the water and everything out of you so that you become essentially like a flag.
Yes.
And you're not alive. I mean, you're just an unconscious flag and there's nothing in you. And then that's called dehydration. And then you rehydrate, you just add water and it becomes a human.
It becomes a play. Yep, it becomes a human again, which is like a really dope thing. And
I didn't like it actually.
I thought it was crazy. The first time I was reading it, I had to read it a couple times because I was like, what is going on? But if you like, how else would civilization survive in any chaotic era outside of that specific thing? Like, are they building these like deep underground living situations that
actually that would have been a good idea? I don't know. They probably would have done that, and they didn't mention that at all.
They could have done that, but that just takes so much work, right?
Like the Romans.
Yeah.
Just saying, there's this place in Turkey where they actually built like 5, 6, 7 floors underground because the Romans were going to come and get them. So they lived underground completely. Like, that's a real thing.
That is a real thing. And I do think it's possible, but in this world, you need so much time for that to happen.
Right.
And they don't have that much time and man labor for that to happen. And I think that's the key. That was number 3. Number 4, when you see 2 flying stars, when you see 2 flying stars, that means it's the start of a stable era. And a stable era is basically like normal day and night, and it's not too hot, it's not too cold, right? And that's how that's when civilization could become civilization during any stable eras. And then the last thing is the goal of the game. By the time they reach the city where these travelers are going, he says the goal of the game. King Wen says, now you know the goal of this game, to use our intellect and understanding to analyze all phenomena until we can know the pattern of the sun's movement. The survival of civilization depends on it. So what did you think of this game when you first, like at the start of this first, like,
I mean, when it first starts, I'm like, this is kind of cool. He's entering this world. You're already under the impression that it has something to do with reality. Yes. Because these physicists are killing themselves. this is a thing on the screen. Not only that, the woman who was playing on the screen was like really in it and then came out of it. Like she was, it wasn't like, oh, hi there, let me take off the set. It was like, I'm in this set, and when I finish, I'll be with you. And so you're already assuming like, okay, this there's some type of lore on, there's something behind the screen here. And so they introduce you slowly. And I'm kind of like, okay, they go on and on. And one thing important to note is that there's a lot of history, like real history. They include the people and characters, but they're also overlapping time periods.
Yes.
So you'll see like this King Zen and another King Zhao, I think.
Yep.
Might have the names wrong, but they're from different eras and yet they're overlapping. And so you're seeing this mixture of, my impression is like, okay, it's a mixture of space and time, and it's some type of configuration of like the optimum humane society. That's what I was thinking. I was like, this is like if
I
you were to take the best leaders from every place and like put them in one, like they would be here to try and figure it out. That's what I
maybe
was
in
thinking.
that way, but the optimization of the best of human, no, absolutely not. I was like, this is the worst place to live in the history of
Oh
ever.
yeah, well in that setting,
In that setting. Yeah, you mean like trying to figure this out? These are the best human beings we can put
like
together to
this is
try
the
to
world, and in this world, these are the human beings in this world. They represent these human beings. They're not actually
exactly.
King Zen and Zhao, but they represent that level. And here they are, all intermingled, in this world, and they're trying to figure this out.
So when this crew, King Zhao, no, that's not him. King Wen, when King Wen, the follower who is now rolled up because he does the example of dehydrating, and Wang get to the center of the city to meet the actual king of the fucking world to explain King Wen's version of how the sun, like the pattern of the sun, so they can predict when the stable era is going to happen. When he gets there, there's this other dude who's like, you gotta believe in the potions and the world, and they describe him as like some witchcraft
Hey,
dude.
who's
And
in like a vat of boiling water, I guess,
yeah, yeah, it's
and then
weird
he like
shit.
becomes the water. It's very strange. And the narrator's just kind of like, this is happening, like he's over there. And they didn't really quite hype up how crazy it was.
Yeah,
It just was happening.
and they describe it so like nonchalantly, and you're like, what
Yeah.
did he just do? Did I
Yeah,
just
you have to
read what I?
reread like he's
Yeah,
in a vat of boiling water or something. Like,
why?
yeah.
But then King Wen, he goes and explains, listen, the way we can understand the pattern of the sun is by using the yin and the yang. And he
Right.
draws some shit on the ground, and then and then they like, I
But this
don't
is
believe you.
interesting, just to interrupt, because so it's saying that he drew the yin and the yang on the ground, and then he carved the 64 hexagrams of the I Ching around the symbol. And I don't know, do you know what the I Ching is?
I have no idea. I know
Okay,
the Tao Te Ching. I know that's
no,
like
Tao Te Ching is like they're almost a
like
religious
the
document.
philosophy. Yeah, it's like a
Yeah, the
philosophy of
following
how to
follow
live
the
by.
Tao. It's kind of like
Yes.
the Tao is the way. I don't know if it's right to call it a religious document, but it's very, follow the Tao. But the I Ching is something that Confucius spent a lot of his time researching and studying. So it's a crazy thing. It's actually so cool. So the I Ching, it's I'm not gonna say it's similar to tarot, but tarot kind of does similar actions. So basically, you have three coins, and you roll these coins 6 times. And for each time you roll them, heads is 3, tails is 2, I think. And you add up the numbers. So if I roll out 2 heads, 1 tail, I get 6, 8, right? And there's 6 lines. And then even lines are like, even numbers are a straight line and odds are broken. Broken meaning like there's a space in between. And you build a hexagram. It's called a hexagram because there's 6 lines. Maybe
Gotcha.
I'm going too far into depth here. But the point is, you
Sure.
build this, and there are 64 ways you can roll these coins. There's 64 hexagrams that can exist based off your rolling. And so if you have these coins and you really sit there and really ask it a question, you ask it a question like a real question, like, oh, like, what should I even take this test? Like, am my girlfriend gonna love me? Like stuff like that. That could be vital stuff to your world or not. And you really put your energy behind it and you roll it. Now, first off, when I was first introduced to this, I was like, hell no. This is the stupidest shit I've ever
Yeah, it
heard.
sounds
Don't
exactly
you?
like Terra. It sounds
Yeah,
exactly like Terra.
don't
Yeah.
don't get this shit in front of my face. Stop it. And my friend, he's very spiritual. He's like a painter. He's a super good painter, and he's really creative. And he's like, no, I like have lived by this sometimes. And I'm like, this is stupid as fuck. This is stupid as fuck. I thought it was really creative, and I rolled it. And he's like, "Oh, you got the creative, the number one." I was like, "Oh, maybe it knows me. Maybe it knows me." And then I got it. And then I roll it again, and I got it again. And he's like, "I've never seen anyone get the creative." And here I'm like, "Yeah, I'm the fucking shit. That maybe this thing knows me. Okay, maybe this is right." And ever since then, if you do kind of give it a chance, and this could be heebie jeebie hooba jooba, but if you do it and you kind of believe, I swear it's wild. It spits back basically like a horoscope, but much more individualized.
Yeah.
And then it tells you like, here is what you get. And in addition to that, there's certain lines that are like starred based off the number.
Can I ask, what is the relationship between that and the yin and the yang? Is there any relationship, or is it just like the flip of a coin type like comparison?
Well, the whole point is the 64 hexagrams represent this journey from like before completion to after completion, right?
Okay.
And here's all the different things you can experience along the way. And even within each hexagram, there's particular changes each person might have based off numbers. It's kind of cool. It's actually really cool. It's worth a try if you're at home, at least to fuck around with it. And then you would arrange these kind of in a circle, and you can imagine that there is a yin and yang, and there are kind of positive and not negative, but alternating versions of these hexagrams that indicate different things like expansion or declension, or it depends on whatever you get. And so by arranging the yin and yang, and it's kind of like a calendar essentially, right? And I've always wondered, on a side note, how Confucius came. I mean, not Confucius, but how the I Ching was like, how it was evolved, how it was created.
Yeah, because it just seems very random. Like, why?
But it's not. You should try it. You should try it.
I feel like I will, because like, why the three coins and why the 6 lines? Right? Because I know that the math adds up with the 3 coins and the 6, whatever that adds up. But why wouldn't they be like 2 or 4 or like? I
never thought about that. Numbers, I just kind of went with the numbers. I just went with it. But it is interesting to try if you're like actually like give it a shot. Why not? I think it's cooler than fucking
the tarot cards.
Yeah, it's more like I say, oh, this is real science. This is real. Confucius studied this.
It's fucking Confucius, and like
fucking Confucius.
And like, I love that you just explained that, Nate, because throughout this book, you will see in the future chapters when he comes back into the game, they're further along in science, and this is like, can you call this science? No, probably not, right? But it's the closest thing at the time of human civilization that we had to science.
Oh, and I'm sure when it came along, when it came along, it was like, holy fuck. And it is still a little bit like, holy fuck right now. And for those who believe tarot and work with tarot is like, holy fuck.
Yeah.
I mean, there is a science to this. It's just not the science we currently have. It's not as, I guess, as relatable to other people.
And it's not as reliable. And the reason it's not as reliable, but in this book, they also agree that it's not reliable. King Wen does this. And he's just like, the king is like, how am I supposed to, the real king is like, how am I supposed to know that this works? And he's like, all right, they speed up time. And I still had questions like, how do they decide who speeds up the time in the game?
Oh, they just say, game speed, sped up.
Game speed speeds up. And then based on these hexagrams and the yin and the yang and King Wen's explanation, he sees the stable era begin, and it begins and it goes and it goes and everything's really well. And it lasts for 8 days.
Oh, you're right. They're like, oh, you're right.
Holy
because
shit,
this is according to what you said. So everyone rehydrate, order the rehydration.
And everyone's rehydrating. All the people are coming back. And then we find out that the yin and the yang and the hexagons, and it's not the answer, bro. Confucius did not have the answer.
Because all of a sudden the sun comes up and just burns them,
No.
Oh, it's the freezing.
It's the freezing. Yep. The first time is the freezing. They see the 3 shooting stars and the entire planet is frozen. And this is civilization number 137. And I love, like, whenever they have those like end credits for each game situation he's in and have the civilization ends, I love that little part. It's like I get so excited to read that little part.
Yeah, me too.
It's like, me too. I love that part. Whatever died this way, please come back so you can see what happens next. It's kind of dope. But that's the end of the first civilization, the first time he plays the game. And at the end of when he first plays the game, I like, seeing the 3 stars, that's when it finally hit me when you told me last time. I understand the 3-body problem. I get the fact that like now I know so much more based on where I am in the book, but that was the first time I was like, oh shit, it's the 3 stars. Like that's the first time it like hit me.
Oh,
Did
I
you
didn't know
know?
that yet. No, no, no. I was reading. I had no idea. I mean, when he
Well,
first
of
wakes
course.
up, he first enters the game, and he's like 2 stars. He's like, well, what's 3 stars? And he's like, oh, I can't. I'm not going to tell you what 3 stars
Yeah.
means. And we don't. I mean, we don't. Yeah, we don't
Yeah.
know. I didn't know at that point. They just said 3 stars, and that's yeah.
So that's the first time, like they said with the 3 shooting stars. I was like, this is the first time I was like, all right, this is going to be the answer, right? Like, like I understand where the book is going with this, but I didn't know like the science behind it. That like I still don't know where I'm
Oh
at
yeah.
right now, like the science behind a lot of this. But then we go on to the next chapter. Um, this is Wayne gets out of the game and he takes off the suit and he's just like, holy shit, what the fuck was I just in? This is crazy. He calls Yang Dong's um boyfriend. No, I think the boyfriend calls him and he's like, you have to go visit um my ex-girlfriend's mother. And we finally
Right.
get to meet Ye Wenji again.
UNG
Um,
again. She's
Yi
old as hell.
Wenji again. He goes over to Yi Wenji's house, and he's going over there because the boyfriend's like, I can't go back over there. I'm still grieving, but I need someone to go help this old lady. And like all of this time explaining before he gets to the house, we don't know that it's Yi Wenji, but the title of the chapter is Yi Wenji, so that's
Right.
what I'm assuming here. He gets there, he goes into the house, and she just seems so sweet. I was like, I wish I could have followed your story.
Right.
Like she just seems like the sweetest old lady, helping with all the kids around the house, around the building, and then she's just like so like intuitively like knowing what's the deal. And she, instead of like beating around the bush and acting silly, she's like, that's my daughter's room. You can go ahead and look through the stuff.
Right.
And this chapter is pretty simple because he goes through the stuff and they do talk about Yang Dong's like scientific mind. I don't know if there
Right.
was anything more than that you wanted to talk about in chapter 8. Is there anything that you noticed or wanted to expand upon? Because I thought it was pretty straightforward. The only thing that we get from this chapter is he goes over there like mainly to help out, but also he needs to get to the microwave background, the what do you call it? The universal
The
cosmic,
cosmic, yeah,
the
the cosmic
cosmic
background.
microwave background,
Microwave
and Yi
background.
Wenji has access to a place where he can get that. So that's like his end goal. But anything else that you wanted to talk about in that chapter?
She did say she was worried that she introduced her daughter too young to too great of ideas, to too
Yeah.
existentially ideas. And even her daughter was wondering, can I be this great physicist, this great scientist? And she's saying, well, even the greatest, like Madame Curie, um, they were never really accepted, all their hard work, et cetera, et cetera. And she does say there was another scientist who even propelled it further, but still, being a woman in this industry was hard. And so essentially that she pushed herself really hard. But I thought one of the cool things was like in describing that she pushed herself hard and she was trying to assert herself in this industry, which she was an incredible physicist. At the end, he says like, this is wild. She says, but she was a woman. A woman should be like water, able to flow over and around everything.
I have that highlighted.
And I was like, damn, this is
Right?
so true. Because I mean, if you just look at our society, women don't commit suicide as much. They're strong as fuck. They have periods, they have baby, they have birth. They like, you just had a kid and you're like, oh my God, I have to stay up. Your partner has been doing that shit for fucking
9 months
over a
prior.
year.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. No,
And I
it's
just thought it was beautiful.
I really did like this. And that's the thing I liked about that was it's like it does, and she says it in like a beautiful way, and like the responsibility of my daughter was to be like water, to flow, to just be a part, like just adapt to whatever situation you're in, right? But her explanation as to her daughter being I thought it was two opposing ideas that didn't make sense. She said that I introduced my daughter into two theoretical, two abstractive ideas, right? And then in her daughter's note, her suicide note, it said, because physics isn't real, I'm going to commit suicide. Like if you are like a theoretical scientist and you
Ah,
are willing to expand your mind beyond the point of what you believe physics is, why would you kill yourself finding out that physics isn't the answer? You know what I
and
mean?
then and then if you're the mom, because we know she's a physicist,
Yes,
then if you were the mom and this happened to your daughter, wouldn't you be like, what the fuck?
exactly.
I never
Exactly.
thought I never thought about that, but you're very right. Like if you're the mother, wouldn't you just be like, yo, what the fuck did my daughter die from? If is
Exactly.
like what is this physics not real thing?
And she must know, like, she must have every detailed understanding of what happened to her daughter when she committed suicide. So she's definitely aware of the thing. But like, that's the only two ideas that I don't think make sense. But I feel like throughout this book, we're probably going to get some more answers
Yeah,
on that.
actually, that's important. That's an important distinction to make because it doesn't make sense and it's something to keep your eye on
Exactly.
because you should just keep your eye on why did she want to learn more? Why is she just acting like this old lady who doesn't know more? I mean, does she not know more? Does she care? You know,
I really think that
is she even important to the story? You don't even
ex-
know.
yeah, I mean, can she be important that the fact she's already dead? Well, maybe because we
No, I
keep
mean
jumping
Yi
time.
is Yi
Oh,
Wenji is
Yi.
important because
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
she's appeared for one chapter and we don't she was gone for two chapters, three chapters.
Yeah,
So it's like and she's old now, so
exactly.
kind of
What's
forget her.
I don't want to. I really don't. I love her. I really
Uh,
do love this lady. And like when we do come, every time you come back to UNG, she's like just
I know.
dropping just like wisdom bombs, just throwing them, right? Like she's fantastic. Um,
And then
they
at
have,
last he ends just like, he looks sick. He looks like he's struggling hard because of what's happening. And
of
she's just
course,
like, hey, I hope you take care of yourself.
and gives
You
him
know?
some ginger tea or some shit, right? Like
Mm.
she gives him some like some good tea. But right before he leaves, he gets the information about how because Yi Wenji had a student that is works at a like a what's it called? Like a telescope. What are those huge telescope
Observatory. An observatory,
observatories?
but it's actually like it's not just an observatory. I think it's also like a RF, a radio frequency hub. So they have a giant antenna and
Yeah.
it like sends out signals and receives
Not the
signals.
same one from part one. Not the same
No,
one
this
from
is
part.
it's a
Yeah. This
different
is like
one.
in the middle of the city.
Yeah,
Yeah.
in the middle
Uh,
of the city. So she gives him a call. My student will see you.
I got you. I got you back. Wang leaves. Okay, he finally gets some rest, and then the next chapter starts out with him going to this. The next chapter, it's the title is "The Universe Flickers," which I think is just a beautiful title. But he ends up driving over to the observatory, the astronomy observatory, and then he talks to the student. They talk a little bit about Ye Wenji's history, but then Wang's like, let's get to this. I need to fucking see this shit, right? They beat around the bush, they talk about it. The only thing I want to mention about the before they actually see the universe flicker is Wang is like, I want to see, and he's just reading off the email that he got from Shen Yufei, the Frontier of Science lady who sent him there. He's just like, yeah, I want to see it fluctuate 5%. And the dude starts laughing at his face. He's like, bro, you obviously
Yeah,
don't know how this works. And he's just
right.
like, he says, even with the sensitivity of the Planck satellite, I don't know what that is, but I'm assuming it's a high sensitivity satellite.
Planck. I forget what his first name, but he's a very famous physicist back in the day who created this Planck's constant, which is a number that has to do with some astronomical thing or something. I could be wrong, but
Beautiful.
very
He
important
says
number.
it must be because he says even with the sensitivity of Planck
It's to do
satellite,
with atoms.
continuous observation for a million years might not detect any such shift, and that shift is that 5% shift. But you want to see a 5% fluctuation tonight? Do you realize what that would mean? The universe would flicker like a fluorescent tube that's about to burn out. I love that, like that description, and because it's like if the universe is actually flickering, is he saying that would definitely mean it's going to burn out? Or is that just him using an analogy of something that flickers that everybody would know? But I
It's just
love that.
like this would be catastrophic.
Exactly.
We don't
Exactly.
know what would happen. It just sounds catastrophic. If that were to happen, what? No, we turn off like a light. Who knows? You know.
And like the chapter goes on and like he they go out to get drinks. They come back at 1 a.m. when he
Oh
was
yeah, but
told
I
to
think
go ahead.
there's just a couple of other really beautiful things I think in here. Like
Talk to me.
she was Shaw, who's the student, young student, was excited to see Wang. And if you think about it, it's like, dude, this guy spends his whole life at this observatory. You know, he spends his whole life at this Chinese Academy of Sciences National Astronomical Center, and he observes radio frequencies. And I recently watched the movie Contact, which I don't know if you've seen.
I
It's
have
an
not.
old movie with Jodie Foster, and essentially she is an RF engineer. She is a radio frequency engineer and astrophysicist who's trying to get contact with the aliens. And there's so many images of just people alone for their lives sitting in an astronomical center observing radio frequencies on a computer. And to me, it's like so beautiful. Like this is someone's life. This is someone's life, and they sit there every day and they're so dedicated to it. And it's such like a sacrifice. Like I'm sacrificing my own happiness to do this for the betterment of humanity to find this. And I just think it's a really noble. I think it's really noble, even though it's
Nate,
weird. I think it's noble.
I love that you love that.
I
Look,
love it.
I wouldn't say for the betterment of humanity, right? I feel like that's a stretch, a bit of a stretch.
Well,
Finding out that if you can see out in the universe and you see like a flicker or whatever, and you're like, that might be aliens, that's like the excitement of humanity, but the
well, I would.
betterment,
Well, you can't stop progress.
yeah, no, you can't. You can't.
So,
And someone does need to be sitting there monitoring.
and we do whether aliens are bad at first and good at down the road. Eventually, we want to join that rank. So,
Oh, 100%.
better, maybe.
100%.
But I just think
100%.
that's really beautiful, and I think that some of this other stuff is like, I think it's just really cool. Some of this stuff is really cool when he starts to get into like what the actual cosmic universe background is and how it's like radiation from the initial Big Bang of the embers that never quite cooled down completely. And well, we'll go on, but to see this cosmic radio background, this cosmic microwave background, does he? Well, we'll get to that point because he goes back to the astronaut after they have a ton
Yeah.
of drinks.
They-
The student Shaw doesn't give a fuck because he's there every day and he knows that this is bullshit. That's gonna happen. So he just wants to drink and party because he's gonna be up all night anyway.
Yeah.
And he just wants to enjoy the company. He's not around people a lot, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so he gets together with them and they have some drinks and then they go back. And there's also another cool line here, where it says they're talking about the astronomical center and how harder it is to get certain frequencies, to get certain permission to do whatnot. And they're talking about how these China Mobile, like Boost Mobile, all these like major telephone companies are dominating it all. And it's like without money, the secrets of the universe are worth shit. And
Yep.
it's like facts.
Yeah.
The only progress is only made with money.
100%. Yeah. If it's not gonna make me money, why are we looking at this? Why are you looking at stars for? Right.
And that's why you got a crazy inventor in his basement trying to capture fucking electricity with a light bulb or trying to do some crazy electricity with a key.
Yeah. It's beautiful. Just to add on a little bit to what you said, because he does go on, Wang does ask, like, if you wanted to have like a better vision or whatever, don't you want it to be out in the boondocks? He's like, yeah, sure. But China Mobile doesn't want it out in the boondocks. It wants it right here in the middle of the city. So yeah, like money runs the world. Money's the only way we're going to get these discoveries. So I'll take what I can get. Right. When they get back to the center, it's exactly at 1 a.m. because Wang is like, I need to be there at 1 a.m. I need to make sure that this shit happens. Right. So they turn on the machines, they're looking at it, and right at 1 a.m. it happens. Like there's no ifs, ands about it. It starts to happen, and in a huge way. So Shah is the guy who works at the observatory, starts to freak out. He's like, what the hell is going on? So he turns, because he only used like the least capable machine in the observatory for Wang, because it's like, all right, I'm doing you a favor, use this machine, it'll definitely pick up if you're looking for a 5% fluctuation. But then he turns on the rest of them to make sure that it's not a lie, it's all happening. And then he's like, if you want to see this like with your own eyes, because this fluctuation is so much that you can actually see it, you have to go to the planetarium and wear these special glasses.
So, this is why I think you should really check out the movie Contact, because the funny thing about the movie, it is made a while ago. It's also very good, but all the computers in the room are kind of shitty. They're all pretty shitty computers. And I can imagine that even nowadays, they're probably still kind of shitty computers.
Yeah.
Because all they're doing is just monitoring.
Yeah. How often do you need to update that?
Yeah. I don't even know what goes on in there, but they're pretty, I just imagine pretty shitty computers and this guy kind of fumbling over like one computer and another computer, and there's no one in the room, and it's all stacked and going crazy in there because it's like a hoarder's house. I can
Yep.
just imagine that. So, anyways, they see the red waveform appear on the screen, but they can't see anything. There's nothing visible, right? Because the cosmic microwave background is not visible to the human spectrum,
Yes.
right? The human visible light spectrum. So he's like, well, we did fuck around one time and made these 3K glasses, right? So these glasses basically filter in and out specific wavelengths so you can see
See it with your own
see
eyes.
a different range of the spectrum, of the light spectrum. And so through these glasses, you should be able to see the cosmic microwave background. So he's like, fuck it. Okay, I need those things. I need those things. And the guy who's experiencing the Shaw, the student who's seeing these red waveforms flash, is like, what the
He's
fuck?
freaking out.
You don't even know what fucking cosmic radio wave whatever were, and you're coming to me and this is happening? Like, what the
exactly
fuck is going
when
on?
you say it's gonna happen,
Yeah.
which is
Who
just
the fuck
insanity.
are you? What's going on? What's going on? What's going on? And he doesn't. Wang's like, I'm not even fucking getting into it because you don't even know what's going on.
Yeah.
I'm like, break up my life shit. I need to figure out. So
I'm seeing shit. I'm seeing this countdown. And just to note before he does leave, because it is a Morse code and you can't tell, the peaks in the waveform that they notice is a Morse code, and it is the countdown that continues from the last photo he saw, from the last time he saw his vision.
Right, and it's like short, long. So based on the wave, I imagine based on the peaks and troughs, I imagine.
Yeah.
And so then he leaves, and if you've ever heard of psychosis, people like that, everything appears as a sign. And as he's leaving, he's basically in this state of psychosis where it's like fucking the street lights flickering is that Morse code.
Yeah.
And you can imagine this guy's had a fucking countdown seared onto his retina, which actually stopped when he stopped the machine.
Yes, he did. When he stopped the nanotechnology, it stopped.
When he decided to stop, the thing on his retina disappeared. The point is, this guy just went from seeing it on a camera, having it burned onto his retina, to saying that this massive fluctuation is going to happen. He is on the fucking ride of his life, and now he's like, oh my fucking god, everything in the whole fucking universe is speaking to me, and I don't know what the fuck it's saying, but it's saying something. That light bulb, those shadows, he's in it.
And it's one thing for the numbers to be on the photo. It's another thing for it to be just you seeing it. But when you go to the observatory and there's an expert who's freaking out because it's flickering, then it's actual reality and it's not your psychosis. So if I were him, Nate, I would be the way you would tap your knee would make me think the universe is talking to me. Like my mind would explode. Mind would explode.
But I don't even think he just keeps going. At this point, I don't think, I think his mind disappears.
He gets to the planetarium, he gets those glasses, and then he looks up at the sky, and it's flashing red. Just the way it would from 1 to 5 a.m. It just keeps flashing. It just keeps flashing. It just keeps flashing. And he's freaking the fuck out. Like honestly freaking the fuck out. Luckily, he does end up, but at the end of that chapter is when what's his name? Dashi. He's basically Dashi's this is the cop.
Shikyong, yeah.
Yeah, he's been following him the entire time is what we're to believe, because he just shows up at random times, and this is one of the times he just shows up. But before we continue, Nate, because I am all the way at the end of part 2. We are just going to talk about chapter 10 because I didn't take any other notes past chapter 10. But before we continue to chapter 10, he calls Shen asking her what the actual F is going to happen at the end of this countdown.
Right.
Because right now, it's the universe. Whoever is doing this countdown, it's not some like alien species. It has to be God himself, because it's the universe that's flickering. It's the universe. Like, do you have any idea what happens? Like, what are you predicting? Do you think before
at this point,
before the flickers, I thought he was going to commit suicide, but after the universe,
no way. That would actually be a great part of the book if he committed suicide. It would have been kind of like, I've never seen Game of Thrones, but I know they just kill off people. That would be kind of Game of Thronesian. So, well, look, it's become a reference now.
Exactly.
But yeah, at this point, I thought what he thought. I thought somehow this external force was completely controlling the world towards him, was completely sending him signals through this world and through what's going on, and that a lot of the others couldn't bear it. A lot of the others
Okay.
couldn't bear the
I see what you
reality and
mean.
had shamed from it and run away and killed themselves for fear of accepting what was, which is this world is built for you. Like this is happening for you, the whole thing. You're the one who's gonna have to do this. And that's what I figured is like, this is our main character, and
But
he's
let me
gonna
ask
fucking go into it.
so
He's
let
gonna
me
fucking go into it.
but let me ask you this because I want to dig on this just a little bit more.
Yeah.
Do you think because Shen is aware of the countdown, does Shen have her own countdown or does Shen's countdown the exact same thing? And if it is the exact same thing, why is it a specific time that Shen only knows, like the 1 to 5 a.m.? You know what I mean? I feel like if Shen had her own countdown and if everyone else had their own countdown, then I'm like, it has to be this is the countdown until your suicide. I don't know what's going to happen, but you're going to die at the end of this countdown.
Right.
But if it's the same for everyone, this is a lot bigger than just the world, God, or the universe is talking to you. This is like end of the universe activity. This is like
Right.
the just big shit. But
yeah, I think it's kind of. Have you ever seen Lost?
Yes, I've seen a
Yeah,
little bit of it.
you know how there's like the polar bear that's never explained, and this that's never explained, and I feel like some of that shit goes on with this book.
Oh,
There's some
100%.
stuff that just kind of like makes it grandiose and makes it interesting, but it's just never fucking
It
explained.
disappears because
And it is sci-fi after all. You can't know
you
everything.
can't explain
perfectly.
everything, and that's the thing. You want to know. You want to know.
So I assume
know.
that she had her own countdown and that it stopped because she had stopped her work. That's what I assume.
I see. I see.
So she knew the way around it, and she see that when she stopped her work, it stopped. So this is what you should do. And at this point, I figured that she had more contact with this force, so much so that she was mouth shut and was now fully invested in this 3-body game because it was a vessel of the aliens, and she couldn't say or do anything. She could only live. She essentially had to beat the game in order to survive. That's what I essentially thought was happening.
That's fair.
And she was like sworn by secret, not sworn officially by secrecy, but if she stepped out of line, the aliens would fuck her up or some shit.
Yeah. And then I think this is fantastic, man. I think we did really good, but this is the last chapter that we're going to go over today. So we're going from 4 to 10. So, okay. And I think it's a good place to end because the next chapter after this is a great place to jump off next time. Chapter 10, Dashi. Which is back to our cop. So, like I said, at the end of the chapter 9, Dashi shows up. And where Wang ends up is at some random church and he's fucking on his knees, bawling, crying to God. And Dashi shows up in the back and he starts laughing. Ha 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 ha. I knew you punk ass motherfucker.
Yeah, another one bites the dust. I think that's what he says that exactly.
Yeah, he says some wild shit. He's just laughing at Wang like a maniac, right? And the reason I love the cop, and this is probably the chapter that made me like him so much, is because he's so ignorant to like the scientific nature of anything that he takes everything so like. Anyways, they go ahead and he's talking and he tells him, look, the one thing you need to do, let's go grab some drinks and then you need to take a nap, right? So they go drink, they talk some shit. He takes a nap in his car. Dashi shows up the next morning at the brink of dawn, and he's like, let's go drink again. Let's go.
Yeah. What do we do now? What do we do now? Well, we talk about it a little and let's get fucked up and go to sleep again.
Yes. And after he wakes up, after they go to eat or wherever the hell they go to go get dumplings, I think, this is the first time Dashi shares any information that he knows about the situation to Wang, right? Since the time they introduced him to the frontiers of science, since the beginning of us being with Wang, this is the first information he gets from someone external that he's not like pulling teeth to get out of. And then Dashi basically describes the situation of the world that's happening. And there's, again, 5 bullet points that I took out here. Number 1, all the academics are committing suicide. So we knew about that. Number 2, there's been random violence towards people who are academics or scientists, right?
Right, because Dashi, he's essentially trying to prove to Wang that like this isn't some act of uncalculable, supernatural bullshit.
Alien god thing.
There's no because this guy, he's a fucking, cigarette smoking cop detective who doesn't give a fuck, probably does some bad shit on his own, but
It
sneaks
sure
out these
does.
criminals, sneaks out these criminals because he's kind of in their mind because he kind of knows how to fucking do that shit. And he fucking knows that way of the world, and he thinks nothing just happens. Everyone's a dick, and everyone's trying to fuck someone up,
Yeah.
basically. So this isn't just happening. Someone's behind this, and these are the reasons, and that's what you're talking about now.
Exactly, exactly. So he talks about the scientists committing suicide, the people that are fighting, like committing violence towards suicide. And back to our man Pan Han, he talks about these bold environmental activists, like just an insane amount of people that randomly are just doing these environmental activist things that are anti-urban, anti-cities. And then lastly, the proliferation of mysteriously wealthy cult leaders. That's why I say we have to go back to Mr. Pan Han. In like many, many ways, these first few chapters are pointing the finger at this dude who's just real sneaky in the background. We know very little about him. We know very little about him. And with all of these things put together, Dashi's conclusion, he says he believes this is all a plan to completely ruin scientific research. He's saying that he thinks that he wants there's something or some way there's a bunch of a cabal happening that they're trying to reverse or go back or get rid of scientific research. That's where Dashi is thinking right now. And based on what's happening, I'm not gonna lie, it doesn't seem that far off.
Yeah, no, I mean, I thought it was a little like fucking, he's just throwing some hay and whatever,
Yeah.
hay in the fire. That's not a saying at all, but it sounds cool. But I thought that's what he was just doing, kind of stoking the fire. He doesn't really exactly know, but here's a theory, and that theory is comforting because it is semi-realistic compared to the supernatural shit he's been experiencing. So I think he lashes onto that because it at least provides some grounding. But I don't think at the time I didn't think it was like
It didn't mean anything to
I,
me.
I was like
It
something's going on, but I don't know if like someone's trying to thwart. Maybe. But the thing is that he was saying it's pure intra earthly, so it's all within
Yeah,
Earth.
it's all
And I'm
within
like,
Earth.
I'm like,
And that,
nah, this is a sci-fi book, so
yeah.
it's not.
No, but I'm just saying with the information that we had so far, the reason I keep saying we have to keep pointing the finger back to Pan Han is because he's the dude that I feel like checks every single one of those boxes, right? He's like the leader, cult leader. He's doing all these environmental things. We'll get to in further chapters about some of the violence that he's committing on some of these scientists or alleged violence that he's committing to some of these scientists. But that's why I keep saying him. But there's just a little quote here that I really like from Dashi. He says, and this is the way he lives by. This is his
Oh
motto, his
yeah,
life
this is
motto.
his motto,
He says, anything sufficiently weird must be fishy.
right? And that's his motto.
That's his motto. And that's his fucking motto. And I don't know what that means, but I do like it. I do like it quite a bit. For a beat cop, I feel like maybe that makes sense, but it really doesn't make any sense.
So he says, keep doing your work, keep doing your scientific work, fuck the countdown, and play that game.
Yeah.
He's like,
He's
that
just
game?
like,
He's
play
like,
that
just play
game.
the fucking game.
He's like, all the big bosses, like the general that we just went to, all the command centers, everyone that's important is playing that game. Whatever you do, keep playing that game.
Right.
But the question is here, Nate, you've got Dashi here who doesn't know a jack shit about anything, telling you to continue to do your
what
research.
would he be doing if he was seeing the countdown? He'd definitely kill someone.
Yeah, he couldn't handle it. But Dashi tells you you need to continue to do your research. Fuck the numbers. Shen Yufei, who's part of the Frontiers of Science, says stop doing your work and play the game. Right. What are you doing? Are you going to continue working?
Fuck Shen.
Are you serious?
Yeah, if you're not gonna have a full fucking conversation with me, fuck you. Okay, I'm going with the cop. Like at that point, it depends on who you are. It depends on who you are as a person. I'm gonna be like, I'm very much don't put me in a box type of person. So that's to my detriment sometimes. But I'm like, fuck you. If I'm gonna die, I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die. I'm gonna fucking die. Sticking it to you.
Yeah,
I'm
with lipstick on and high heels.
Yeah, that's how I'm gonna go down. And so that could be a really dumb decision, But
the good thing about both of them, both Shen and Dashi, they're both telling him to play the game, right? So both of them are like, you gotta. Well,
Shen didn't actually say.
She doesn't say play the game, but she's like obsessed with the game. So it's like if she's doing it, and I'm trying to figure out what the fuck's going on. Let me play the game. And she didn't say not to play the game. And then Dashi's like, play the game. So both of them, I think the one consistent in this book is this game. I mean, there's something going on with this fucking game. I mean, there's something going on with this game.
That's it. So the game becomes the main focus.
The goal. From this point moving forward, and that's what we'll jump in next time. Anything to wrap up chapters 4 through 10. And I think we did a really good job.
I think the book is pretty. I think this is one of the best parts as it's amping up. And really, I really started to fall in love with the real world aspect of this. Like, Dashi,
and that's the thing.
It really grows on you.
The thing is, like, I've read Ready Player One, and like the thing
I didn't know it was a book.
Oh yeah. It's a book. It's a book. Yeah, I read Ready Player One, and a lot of these games that go into these virtual worlds, what you said is exactly right. All you are is obsessed with that virtual world, and you could care less about the real world. But this book makes the real world so like there's so much happening in the real world, and like the mystery is all in the game, so you care about both. And I really like that about this book. For those who are watching, just comment in the comment section below. What the hell would you do? Would you follow Dashi or would you follow Shen's advice?
Now, what would you do?
Me?
Yeah.
100% I would follow Dashi. Because like
I wouldn't be 100%, but I'm definitely following.
I'm saying 100% because that lady is so weird. It's like you're so unrelatable. You're so like you're not helping me. You're just giving me orders. But the only thing that would make me question, actually, you're right. It's definitely not 100%. It's barely 50-50.
It's leaning. It's basically 50-50, but I'm going with him.
Yeah, I'm going with him. But like the thing that she has is she got me to see the universe talk to me. And I feel like if you get the universe to talk to me, maybe I should listen to you.
I didn't even think about that. Yeah.
So yeah. I don't know. We'll find out what happens next time. We'll catch you guys on the flip. Deuces.